2 minutes after 10. So it says we're recording. So let's get this thing going. All right. Let's see. How should we start this? Let's do a silver lining thing, right? The silver lining's the good in a bad situation. From Krogman to everyone, can you not hear me? That's correct, Krogman. We cannot hear you. Can you hear us? Put something in the chat box if you can hear us, Krogman.
Well, that's better. My first video with Mrs. Hoagland, I didn't hear anything.
Oh, wait. Krogman says, yes.
Yep.
I did. Yes, you can hear us. Hooray, Jacob. Can you see us? Yeah. Okay, cool. So Jacob has lost the ability to ask us cool questions. If you just type them in the comment box, Jake, I'll have somebody whose camera I can see. They can just raise their hand and say, Jacob has a question, and that'll work great. So, silver lining thing. First things first. Who can tell me one good thing since they've been home this whole week, quarantined with the coronavirus? Who's got one silver lining thing, one good thing they want to share with the class? Tori, give me a silver lining thing.
It's been fun, like being with my family more and getting to hang out with my siblings and stuff has been fun. So,
yes, definitely more family time. I agree. My kids are loving that too. Every morning they're like, "Can we have a fire?" I'm like, yes, we can. Then we do like breakfast and devotions. I'm like, wow, every day should start like this. Let's just make the world start at 10 a.m. because I'm loving the family time too. Absolutely. I think Jack's silver lining thing is breakfast during anatomy, because I've seen every day it's Jack having breakfast in anatomy. Anybody else got a silver lining thing for us?
You get to sleep in.
You get to sleep in? That's a good one. Yep, that's a good one.
Till 8 every day.
And you what every day, Peyton?
I feel way more productive sleeping until 8 every day.
You feel way more productive. Yeah, I got that on Edmodo, the Edmodo message. Yeah. Less what? Oh, Tara says less fast food. That's what she says. I'm trying so hard to talk her into jumping into the lecture today, because I told her, you don't know how many times this year I've said, I'll go home and ask Tara. And I said, now I'm home with Tara. Students will love this. And I was talking with her about a pancreas before we started the lecture. And she's like, well, you know, there's an artificial pancreas now. And I'm like, that's why you need to be in the lecture. Get over here. So we'll have to try to call her out. Wink, good morning. You're in.
Morning.
Good morning. Having breakfast as well. Perfect. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get this thing started then. One of the things I wanted to show you guys way back with the tooth, I didn't show you because we weren't on Zoom yet. So I'm going to start us with this, then we're going to jump back into basically the small intestine, which is where we were. So for volume purposes, I just had to unplug this. So give this a shot. Wait, I didn't share the screen. We have to screen share. Now you can see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, here we go. This is a real short video.
Sectional view, the tooth consists of the exposed crown supported on a neck with roots that project into the mandible or maxillae. There are 3 tissue layers that make up the tooth: the hard enamel, the dentin, and a central region known as the pulp. Bacterial acid from plaque begins to erode the surface of the tooth, dissolving the enamel and forming a cavity or dental caries. This begins the process of tooth decay. The enamel contains no cells, so no pain is experienced at this point. As the cavity progresses, bacteria can penetrate the enamel and dissolve a crater in the dentin layer. Eventually, the cavity is extended into the soft pulp, where the destruction of pulp tissues leads to inflammation and infection. As extensive destruction continues, a pulp abscess made up of pus and dead tissue may form. Stimulation of the nerves causes the sensation of toothache and eventually severe pain. The abscess can spread into the surrounding bone and could cause serious problems if left untreated.
Okay. So this is one that I normally show you guys in class. It's a really short video, but I like it because you get to see enamel and then pulp and then dentin. And the other reason I like to show it to you is, you know, when we go down to, well, the DR, but previously it was Haiti. You know, kids were going down to Haiti every year, And Dr. Chris would always come back and say, we pulled teeth. That's what we did. We pulled teeth. And people were so thankful we were pulling teeth. And it's kind of like, ugh, that sounds like an awful day, but essentially it's neat because what you see is basically on this outer layer of this enamel, there's no blood, there's no nerves. And so it's not really a big deal when you get this little cavity here. You don't feel it, you don't know it, you chew your food, everything's cool. But as you see that bacteria progressing down into this dentin layer, essentially where you have this blood and these nerves, and it just runs through the root of that tooth. Eventually, so infected here, it's going to start to hurt because you have neurons there that are being degraded away by this infection, and it'll be painful, but that's not the end of the world necessarily. But as an infection spreads down to the root of this and starts to spread into the bones, that does become incredibly painful. And a bone infection is very, very, very serious. And so it seems like such a strange thing to say, well, they're just pulling these infected teeth, but really you're saving this person from this big infected bone that does cause problems later. So just the cross section of the tooth I thought was a valuable thing from one of the online lectures that I just posted to YouTube. So any questions about the teeth, or are we ready to jump back into the stomach? I'm trying to see for raising hands. I can see 6 people. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm figuring it out. There we go. Now I can see you all. Perfect. Okay, thanks. So moving on. Let's jump back to our regular lecture.
Be even doing all the notes on this now?
What's that, John?
You be doing all the notes on Zoom?
If you guys like it, I will. Yeah.
Okay.
I like you guys being able to ask questions for sure, as opposed to just recording the lecture. So I think if you guys are okay with this, and this time frame doesn't have to be set in stone, I can be reasonably flexible with time frames, but I do like this better than just recording the YouTube video. All right. Does everybody have this diagram right here off of Edmodo?
No.
No? Yes. Okay. I'll post that in the replies to this post. This is the diagram that I'd like to use for your test, because it's so much clearer than the online, basically digital labeling thing. And if you guys want, I'll post it to this as a reply to this post, and then you can print it off at home, and we'll go through and label it together next time. But it's very easy to label. It gets you through all of your organs, and they're very visible. Even the gallbladder is visible. And so this is the one I want you guys to use, and we'll go over that next time. So John, go ahead and print this one today, and tomorrow Saturday, sorry, next time, Monday, we'll go split together. So let's jump over to this. Where we left off last time, we were, here we go, talking about the stomach, talking about the different fibers and the muscle directions that allowed the stomach to mix up the contents, and that was very, very cool. So this time what we're going to talk about is bear in mind, we're just carrying this through. So here we have, let me grab a pen real quick. Pen. Okay. So here we have what region of your stomach? Raise your hand if you know. What's the bottom region of the stomach?
Duodenum.
Good guess. The duodenum's the first region of the small intestine. So you're really close. The top of the stomach was cardiac. The body of the stomach was the body. And then the upper arc was called the fundus. And right at the end was called the what?
Pyloric.
Pyloric. Awesome. Pyloric region or pylorus. Perfect. Good job. So the pyloric region of your stomach comes right down here to your pyloric sphincter, right? Which is what makes that name so easy. So the pyloric sphincter is holding our stomach contents in. And now this portion right here is the small intestine, okay? Which we're calling the duodenum or the duodenum, pick your favorite. And so the pyloric sphincter opens up and our stomach contents are pushed into, maybe red is not the best pen color for this, and the stomach contents are pushed into our duodenum. Let's go with
Magenta.
magenta. Okay, Peyton, magenta it is. Let's see how it shows up. Oh, it's very nice. Okay, so the stomach contents are pushed into the duodenum of the small intestine. And bear in mind, this stuff is really acidic at this point. It's still a pH of 2. Your small intestine does not have that mucus lining that your stomach did. And so what we have to do is neutralize that acid as soon as we hit the small intestine. And that's what we're going to do with a few ducts that are all coming together. This guy right here is called your gallbladder. It is actually this color. It sits tucked right underneath of your liver. Your liver, which is a very large organ, is almost covering that gallbladder like this. And there's a little groove where the gallbladder kind of sits in underneath of that liver. And the gallbladder is going to hold a substance called gall, right? Not surprising. And so that gallbladder leads through this common bile duct, and the bile is what's going to do a couple of important jobs for us. One, it's going to help us emulsify fats, which is basically to take the fats that are in your food and to cut them up into itty bitty, teeny tiny, microscopic fat pieces. And you kind of think of that like when you put, I don't know if you make spaghetti noodles, if you put like vegetable oil in the water, there's like big sections of the oil that are floating on top of the water. But if you were to like take a fork and chop them up, they'd be little teeny tiny droplets of oil. That's what that gallbladder is going to do. And the other thing it's going to do for us is it's going to neutralize that acid. Those bile salts and secretions will drop that acid's pH closer to neutral. I shouldn't say drop, raise the pH closer to neutral because it's already very low at 2. And we're going to bring that a lot closer to neutral so it doesn't burn our small intestine. So gallbladder is super, super important. You've probably heard of people having their gallbladder removed. And that's totally fine. You can live without it because bear in mind that the bile that's in this gallbladder is made in the liver. The liver puts it in the gallbladder and it's stored for a fatty meal. So when we do our track practice, which we're not doing because school's closed, and all the track kids go to like Armadillo's ice cream, right? If you've ever been to Armadillo's, it's like just kids in track outfits. And so you all go to Armadillo's and you have a super fatty ice cream. And the super fatty ice cream hits your stomach, and there's so much fat in that ice cream that when it hits the small intestine, your gallbladder will squeeze and push out a bunch of bile salts to chop up those fats for you. And if you have your gallbladder removed, your liver still makes bile. Your liver still secretes the bile, okay? And you can actually see this. If we cut this out in a surgery, sorry, I know my nose is super close to my screen. The hepatic duct coming straight from your liver will still make bile that still gets to your small intestine. We just have lost that ability to squeeze a bunch of bile salts and gall all out at the same time, essentially. Oh, someone's got a puppy. All right, so that's perfect. Anyways, so down the liver creates these bile salts and they all flow into our duodenum right here. Now, right next to our gallbladder, we have the pancreas. And the pancreas does a lot of important things for us. It makes so many digestive enzymes that it's ridiculous. But basically, bear in mind that our goal in the small intestine is just about anything useful that you're going to absorb, you're going to do it in the small intestine. And so the pancreas front loads this work by basically creating enzymes to break down proteins, to break down fats, to break down carbs, to break down everything, dumps it all into the very beginning of our small intestine. And if you mix all the enzymes you need for the whole trip, then the rest of your 15 feet of small intestine is just giving those enzymes time to do what they need to do. And so the pancreas is a heavy hitter. Like the heavy hitters for digestion are like pancreas and liver. Those guys are just downright working magic. And so basically this whole organ, this whole pancreas is creating all these enzymes, and we'll go through those in a little bit. And all those enzymes leak into this duct called the pancreatic duct. And this is a really cool picture because it's like I guess you would call it the on-ramp to an interstate, right? The on-ramp to a highway. Here's your common bile duct coming down from your gallbladder, and it merges with the pancreatic duct. And so we mix these enzymes with these bile salts, and they literally come out of the same hole, which you do not have to spell this correctly on a test, but the hematopancreatic ampulla, right? So they both come together and they are secreted into the small intestine. And now we have all the enzymes needed to digest essentially everything we've eaten. And we just have a long, curly surface area trip down the small intestine where we're going to go ahead and break those things up and digest them. And so any questions over the anatomy stuff of the gallbladder and the pancreas before we go to the physiology stuff, which is the harder piece?
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Wait, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so why do the gallbladder and the pancreas go into the hepatopancreatic ampulla or whatever? I totally missed that part.
No, don't worry about it. I don't really know the why. I just think it's a neat structure. Basically, instead of having this duct from the gallbladder have its own entrance, and then the duct from the pancreas having its own entrance, those two ducts merge together and share an entrance into the duodenum. As far as the why, because God made it that way, I don't know. But as far as the anatomy, those two merge together. That's just the way they do it. You can see that one of the ducts from the pancreas actually doesn't do that if you check out up here. Here we've got one of the ducts from the pancreas right here has its own opening right there. Minor duodenal papilla, which is kind of cool because papilla, you remember, is the term for the structures that people commonly call taste buds that aren't taste buds, right? The little bumps on your tongue. It has its own bump where it secretes pancreatic enzymes. So one of its roads doesn't merge with the bile duct, and one of them does. That's kind of an interesting structure. Yeah. Any other questions? Is that a dog? All right, cool. So anyways, that's fine. My dog is sleeping, so that's fine. All right. Anyways, moving on. So now we go to the tough part, the enzymes. You can write these down or star them in your notes, however you want to do this for following along. But bear in mind that the names tell you what the enzyme digests. So that is really cool. Like a glucase breaks apart glucose, sucrase breaks apart sucrose, those kinds of things. The ACE and the OS is like the enzyme in the sugar. And so that makes it kind of easy. So like the pancreatic amylase, this is a nice name because pancreatic already tells you where it's coming from, obviously the pancreas. And amylase is a little bit tricky because you have to go back to salivary amylase that we talked about, the first enzyme coming out of your salivary glands and onto the food in your mouth. And that's going to start breaking up those carbs, which I told you we do with a plain cracker. You might have to do that at home because I don't know when the next time I'm going to see you is. But pancreatic amylase is carbs. Okay, so you can kind of write that in there. And you already know how the writing on my trackpad goes. So I apologize in advance. Okay, carbs. How do you break down carbs? We started that in our saliva, and now we're going to continue with that. And so glycogen is basically carbohydrate storage for people. Think about a potato storing starch for a plant. Glycogen is humans' version of starch. We should actually just say animals' versions of starch, but whatever. Humans store their energy as glycogen for later, and then we can actually pull that out and turn it into glucose, which is really cool. And we're going to split that into disaccharides, and so these are things like, Peyton Causey, sorry.
You're good. So like people that have diabetes, if they have like one of those pump things, does that run straight to the how you say it?
Duodenum? Okay.
Yeah.
Kara, are you ready? You're going live. It's too late. They don't have to see you, but you have to answer. Okay, Peyton, I'm gonna unplug. You're gonna answer the same question. Tara's right across the kitchen table from me, reading her.
Okay, so like for people that have diabetes and they have the little pump thing, does that run straight to their duodenum?
So the pump is going to go into subcutaneous tissue or into their venous system because the pump's going to be checking their blood sugar and delivering insulin in response to that.
So there's a tube that goes into a vein?
It's normally implanted in their subcutaneous tissue.
So you cut their skin open and put this machine in there,
Yes.
the pump,
Yes.
and it checks it for them
Yes.
and pumps insulin in.
There's a lot of different types of pumps.
Oh. Any other questions?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
I mean, you got Tara at home. This is like the moment we've been waiting for. This is open forum. Okay. Anyways, that's a great question. Any other questions about the pancreas or small intestine? Go once, go twice? Okay, cool. Here we go. All right. I gotta see you guys out because I can't see my notes when I see all your faces, which is why I couldn't see Peyton raising his hand. Okay, next one, lipase. You've probably heard the word liposuction, right? I hope, maybe. Liposuction is like to suck the fat, and so lipo means fat. And so lipase is going to be an enzyme that breaks down fat. So pancreatic, where's it coming from? The pancreas. Lipase, what's it breaking down? Fats. And so here we see triglycerides, and those are all just another name for basically the chemical structure of fat. And so we're going to break those fats down and make them as small molecularly as we can. If we can get them like just to glycerol and fatty acid tails, these are like, I don't know, maybe a dozen carbon molecules long or something like that, a couple dozen really, really, really small molecules that we can pull in to what's called a lacteal. It's a little green lymphatic vessel that I'll show you here in a minute. Maybe I've already shown that to you, actually. I have already shown that to you. We're going to pull those fats into basically your circulatory system. And so that's our goal there. So we're breaking down carbs. We're breaking down, here, I'll write this just in case for some reason audio is not going great. I feel like it is though. Breaking down carbs, breaking down fats. There we go. Better. Okay. Pardon me. And then we have a few of these. If you just want to write down these two, I'd be happy with that. You do not have to remember carboxypeptidase. That's a very, very long word. But if you can get trypsin and chymotrypsin, I would be very happy with that. And those guys are both going to work with proteins. Okay, so we're going to break proteins down. Our goal is to get them down to individual amino acids. Individual amino acids are like individual Legos that you can use to build whatever you want. And so you get this big Lego structure that is the protein of, you know, a cow's muscle or a soybean protein or whatever protein you're eating. But to make your own fingernails and eyelashes and muscles, you have to build that into your muscles. So what we're going to do is we're going to take those proteins and break those big Lego things down into individual Lego blocks. Those are amino acids. Then we'll build them up in a new shape that you need to digest stuff. So that's, or to rather make the structures you want to make, not digest stuff, to make things. And then nuclease. You might recall way back in your biology brains that nucleic acids, we're talking about DNA and RNA. So if you eat anything that has information in it, which is anything that has a nucleus, right? You're going to get DNA and RNA out of that. So we're talking things like spinach leaves and strawberries. You know, these intact cells have nuclei that have DNA and RNA in them. And as you eat that DNA and RNA, you will actually break down those nucleic acids with your nuclease enzymes until you just have adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, A, T, C, and G, right? And then we'll reorganize the A, T, C, and G to make the DNA in your cells. When you go through mitosis and split cells, like you have to copy your own DNA, and those pieces must come from somewhere. They don't just magically appear, right? And they come from your food. So digesting that and breaking that down is how we want to do that. And then finally, bicarbonate ions, and this is the one that we talked about. It's gonna, I don't even know if I can write the words neutralize. Goodness gracious, with my trackpad, this could take all day. But it's going to neutralize the acid.
But there's like a chat, so I can like type in questions.
Type on here.
Is that Jacob Krogman?
Wait, what?
I just heard somebody saying there's a chat, so I can talk. Is it the Krogman? Are you here?
I am here. No?
Is your face here?
No, I don't have a camera.
That's okay. I can hear you. Hi, Jacob. Good morning.
It's a miracle. Hello.
And you've been able to hear us the whole time, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's great. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to
Sweet.
Zoom. Dumb question. Was it problematic jumping onto this?
Not once I figured out it was live.
Oh, cool.
Yesterday I was there. I was able to go in there. Oh, I can hear myself talking. But I was just sitting here doing Bible, and then I tried to go in later. Turned out it was live, so I missed it.
Okay, but hey, now you're with the program, so that's perfect. Cool. Well, welcome to class. I'm glad you're here and we're able to hear you. So if you have a question now, you can jump in. That's perfect. All right.
Great.
So back to it. Bicarbonate ions. You might recognize this actually from just the last chapter we were in. We mentioned that you have bicarbonate in your blood because your blood's pH has got to be 7.4. There's a very narrow range of what's acceptable for that. And bicarbonates are a great buffer. Okay. So they're going to neutralize the acid that's coming from your stomach, because that would burn your small intestine and we'd be in really bad shape there. So as soon as that stomach acid comes into the small intestine, the pancreas is hitting it with a bunch of bicarbonate. We're neutralizing that acid. And a lot of these enzymes work at a neutral pH anyway. And so that's really cool because they're made in an alkaline pH, which is like, 8 or 9 or 10. And so then we mix that in with our acids, which turns the enzymes basically on because it's neutral now. And they can start digesting proteins and carbs and that kind of stuff. Because you don't want them digesting proteins and carbs while they're in your pancreas, where you would digest yourself, right? So there's all these really cool things built into where you're not digesting yourself. You're digesting just the food. And that's really cool. I'm getting a message that says my internet connection is unstable. Are you guys getting choppy voice or pictures or anything like that? Are we okay?
Not yet. I think we're good.
Thumbs up for okay? Okay, cool. Perfect. All right, moving on. I got a lot of thumbs up. Thanks, guys. So any questions about pancreatic juices, or are we ready to go to the next slide? Go once, go twice, aside from how gross the word pancreatic juices are. Nope, I know. It's a gross word. I know. Anyways, it's a great deal.
Question.
Yeah.
So can you live without A pancreas?
No, you cannot live without a pancreas. Is that correct, Tara? Can you live without a pancreas? You can. Wait a second. I give you Tara at the kitchen table live. Tara, nope, you can't. Hi, dear. I just want to turn the camera around. She's so angry. Hi, dear. Can you live without a pancreas?
Yes, but not without treatment. You become diabetic.
You
If
become
you don't have a
diabetic.
pancreas, you're not going to produce insulin.
But what about all the other digestive enzymes to break down your carbs and your proteins and all that stuff?
We have medication. It's very expensive.
Okay.
So you don't want to live without a pancreas, but you have patients with cancers and things like that where it has to be removed, and it's bad because it's adhered to part of your stomach, part of your duodenum, so you have to remove all of it, and that's going to create issues with your stomach and your duodenum too, where it needs healed. And so there are medications that are artificial enzymes, and then they become basically type 1 diabetic, so it's harder to treat. And
Does that answer your question?
Very expensive, need a lot of treatment.
Can I do pancreas transplants?
Can you do a pancreas transplant?
I have no idea, but they do have early stages artificial pancreas that they're creating. So that's, again, very early in the technology, but they are trying to create artificial pancreas for people. I don't believe that there's like person-to-person pancreas transplants, though.
Any other questions? We got her at the kitchen table. Juliana.
Yeah, so what do we do with the DNA and RNA that we eat? Like, how does that, like...
Yeah, I got you. That's a great question. Okay, well, I'm gonna throw my headphones back in so Tara can continue to read neuroscience until we bug her with the next question, which probably won't be too many because we are kind of close to that half-hour mark, and I do want to be respectful of that. So, all right, we're back on. What do we do with the DNA, the information that we eat from plant and animal sources? And the answer is essentially that all your DNA and RNA that we're aware of is all built off the same bases, A, T, C, and G, right? That's like the individual Lego blocks, okay? Monomers. Now, you eat something with DNA or RNA in it, a strawberry. There's tons of strawberry cells. There's tons of DNA in strawberries. You eat that, and when it hits your small intestine, the nucleases take those long strands of strawberry DNA and they chop them up until they're just A or just T. In your small intestine, you suck those bases into your bloodstream, and your blood takes it everywhere. Stomach cells, muscle cells, every organ gets these nutrients offloaded into that organ. And so all the cells that need to copy DNA or make DNA will pull A, T, C, and G into the cell, so it's just floating in there. And when your enzymes called DNA polymerase come through to copy DNA and make more DNA, they just grab an adenine from the environment, make its pair. Grab a cytosine from the environment, make its pair. And you build your own DNA and copy your own DNA from the individual pieces of information that were in the organisms that you consumed. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. So
Cool.
you just use it to help build up your own DNA?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Every time, let's look at our skin, okay? So our skin is always making new skin cells. So it's always going through mitosis. Every time you go through mitosis, you have to copy the entire genome of that cell. So you're copying DNA like crazy every day, 24/7 in your arms, right? In all your skin. And so you're pulling those bases from what you ate, putting them in your blood. The blood takes that all the way to the basement membrane. The basement membrane, where the cells are doing mitosis, offloads all those bases into the cells, and the cells copy their DNA and make new cells. So you get all that information from what you eat. Cool? All right.
Cool.
Any other questions? No one wants to go twice?
I have one.
John Vakis.
My mom looked it up because she thought they do it, and you can do a pancreatic transplant.
You can. Cool.
Yeah, but you have to be like really healthy and stuff for it to be a candidate.
Okay.
Diabetes or something like that.
but only if like people apparently it's like long-term diabetes get it,
Sure.
and they're rare. So
They don't do them as often as they do kidney transplants. Okay, cool. Tell your mom thank you, John.
thanks, Mom.
Perfect. This is fun, right? Man, we're gonna have like such a good community. You know, we just got to get like a few Wink's dad's a doctor, just pull those guys in, and you're gonna have $4 worth of learning right quick and in a hurry. So, ooh, pretty cool. All right, so real quick, I'm gonna take you through just a little bit of the anatomy of the liver, and then we're probably gonna shut it down because we are just a little past 10:30, and I know we spent the first part kind of joking around about finding the silver lining in this situation. So here's your liver. Liver physiology is where we'll start tomorrow because it can do almost anything. It's amazing. But basically, your stomach is going to be tucked in about right there, okay? Your esophagus is going to be about right here. So if that kind of helps you visualize where we're at in the body, here's your liver. You do have multiple lobes of the liver. Your inferior vena cava is running right underneath of your liver, and pretty much all of your blood at some point or another is going to be pumped through your liver because your liver is like your filter. Here's your gallbladder tucked right in underneath of that right lobe of the liver, and it's of course holding all of that bile that your liver is manufacturing, and then it's going to come out of that duct. And so the liver does get a huge portion of your blood flow because it is filtering that stuff out. And I don't care so much that you can label every single tube, but some stuff that you should know is that hepato means liver. So hepatic artery is obviously the blood supply to the liver. And then hepatic vein is the blood supply from the liver going back into that inferior vena cava and back up to your heart. So it does a lot of filtering. We're going to focus mostly on the digestive aspects of this. And so that's where we'll probably start tomorrow because we're at about our half-hour mark. So for today, no homework. Please print the diagram that I showed you guys at the beginning. We'll go through that tomorrow. We'll make that our very first thing we do of just labeling that and going through that together. It's pretty straightforward. And that's going to be about it. So Peyton, you got a question?
How come the right lobe's on the left side and the left lobe's on the right side?
Patient's right and patient's left.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yep. Great question. Yeah, absolutely.
Not again.
That's, all right. All right. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, John.
So I'm missing notes because the last thing I had before pancreatic use is the swallowing mechanisms.
Okay, so John, what I want you to do is go to Edmodo, and the way I'm doing this is every day has its own post. And so go to the discussion thread, literally just scan down, and it'll say Monday, March whatever, Tuesday, March whatever, and each one's a YouTube lecture. So just go back, and it probably sounds like you probably missed
I got that video you posted that kind of started.
Wednesday. You probably missed Wednesday. So go back through and watch those videos and see where those pick up. All right. Any other questions?
So I have Wednesday. I watched the video for Wednesday.
Oh, okay. And you
It's
got the swallowing mechanisms?
Yeah, that's what I
Hi,
ended
everybody.
with.
Whoa, how did that come up? Weird. Okay. Noah.
Krogman had a question. He asked if you mean Monday or tomorrow.
I mean Monday.
Okay.
I mean Monday, of course. Yes.
Jacob?
No school on Saturday, Jacob. Take a weekend and do whatever you do when the world is in quarantine. I don't even know. I'm like homeschooling my kids. That's what I'm doing. What are you guys doing? Are you just living life as normal?
No, I'm doing work all day.
Work all day?
Yep.
Yep.
Homework all day?
Yep.
Homework all day? Okay. Well, I guess. Try to get your work done so you can go outside and do something fun. Anyways, any questions before I stop our recording and stop our video?
I'm not finding it.
No?
You
No?
get the video for Wednesday, and then you have the two labeling worksheets, and then the one you want for Monday, and then the Zoom meeting for today.
And none of those are getting you notes through after swallowing mechanism?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, on the